Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Bulletin Broadcast. I am joined once again by Greg.
Hello, yes.
Hello, and Dan.
Hello.
Dan's back. We didn't scare him off the first time. So, this week we have decided collectively, I totally didn't get outranked, we decided collectively to talk about some games that we're looking forward to. So we have all we've all picked 3 games that we're looking forward to. We've not collaborated on this. It was made clear that there will be overlap of games. We are fully expecting that.
I doubt it.
Well, maybe not from you.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first, boys?
Ooh. I'm most interested to hear about Dan, if I'm honest, because as we all know, that man has his finger on the pulse of the cultural zeitgeist. All video games come through him. He's like Rome in road and trading terms for about 2,000 years ago.
Well, I guess that means you're going first, then.
There's an introduction.
Yeah. No fucking pressure.
Okay, well, I was kind of having a look, and I tried to avoid the big obvious ones of next year. So my first one is Doom Eternal. I'm looking forward to the new Doom.
Oh, okay. Now,
maybe because I'm a creature of habit, and it looks like more of the same, and I really, really liked the first one, so I'm just kind of expecting more.
Well, it's that age-old thing of if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Yes, Pokemon should listen. But yes, yeah, you're right. I don't know. I really like the first one. I know there's lots of kind of shooters on that vein. Wolfenstein springs to mind, but it's just kind of the smoothest, most polished in my eyes, and it's just fun. There's kind of, although it's frantic and over the top and fast paced, you really do feel it's just fun to play. I didn't ever feel myself getting kind of stressed with the first one. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it.
I'm looking over at my shelf and seeing the Doom 2016 that I haven't got around to playing yet.
Oh, God.
Oh, savage.
I know,
Fuck's sake, Ben.
I know, it's there, and then I was like, I need to go back and finish Fallout 4, and then I was like, well, fuck Fallout 4 because Death Stranding, and yeah.
Been playing Fallout 4 for about 9 years. Just give it up.
Do you know why? I'm determined to finish the campaign. I'm determined to finish the campaign because I got it, and I played it. I didn't enjoy it, but I played it, and then Metal Gear 5 came out, and then I just forgot that Fallout 4 existed.
Where are you up to on Fallout 4's campaign?
So just spoilers, I guess, if people haven't played it. But
anyone who hasn't played Fallout 4 already will not be playing Fallout 4.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've not played it, skip it. Just don't.
Yeah, it's like spoiling a Harry Potter book. There's like a statute of limitation. It's past. You're allowed to talk about it.
Spoilers, the monster in the Chamber of Secrets is a giant snake.
Well, Greg.
I spoiled it.
I am like partway through the institution storyline. So I'm getting ready to. There's like a big escape plan that we're conjuring up with one of the droids in the institution to free a bunch of them so they can go to the railroad.
Gotcha. Okay, you're probably not too far off from the end.
No, I don't think it feels like it's kind of culminating to the point where I'm going to have to pick one of them. So I imagine I've probably got about sort of 9 or 10 hours left, and then that's it.
I doubt it's 9 or 10. I think you could probably do it in 5 if you just sat. If 5 maximum, if you just sat and did it. I think you're like quite close to the end.
It feels close.
Anyway, though, is you said I was playing Fallout, I didn't enjoy it, so I stopped playing it and started playing other things. If you didn't enjoy it, why are you so adamant to get to the end?
Yeah, Dan. I mean, Ben. I mean, Dan, I say because this is your own advice that you should take sometimes, but also, yeah, Ben.
I don't know. Something in my brain is like, no, you've got to finish it. You've got to see it through. You're not missing much. I found out what I wanted to find out. I found out what happened to the sun. Mm-hmm. I guess I want to finish it because I feel like there's a twist coming at the end. Because I refuse to believe that the head of the institute is his son.
I mean, I shan't comment.
I
Because
feel like his son is dead, and they're using that to basically get him to do what they want him to do. That's why I want to see it out.
all right, well, I mean, like I say, you can do it in a sitting. To be honest, from where I think you are in the story, just pick a side and just go for it.
Yeah.
But if you don't give a fuck, then just opt out. Obviously, as with all things in life, guys, if you don't want to do it, just say no.
Do you want to carry on? Do you want to do your first game, Greg?
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this, and maybe it's not a popular opinion, but I can't wait for Madden 2024. Let's do it. Let's catch
There's
the
no
ball
way you're serious right now.
and throw the ball. And wow, those men are dishy, I can assume. No, that is of course a joke. Though I expect if any of the Madden games will change it up, it'll be the one 5 years from now. Yes. My first would probably be, it's probably quite an obvious one actually, Elder Scrolls 6.
I should have seen that coming.
You should have, yeah.
Why?
So, I mean, after Fallout 76 and their recent stupid decisions with it, I am now no longer of the belief that they will just make a great game, which they are completely capable of doing. But if they do make the choice to just make a very good game, then Elder Scrolls 6 has got all the potential to be absolutely excellent. I adored Skyrim. I liked Fallout 4. I thought it wasn't perhaps as good as other Fallouts and wasn't perhaps as good as Skyrim. I really love Oblivion. I really love the Elder Scrolls universe. I really like Bethesda game design. I think when they're actually trying, they're very good. I've got my worries. After Fallout 76 came out, and it went so badly for them in so many ways, which we literally don't have the time to go through. It went wrong in every single direction. Anyone who even slightly paid attention to those press stories has a very good idea that Fallout 76 was a massive failure for Bethesda. I thought after all of that went really wrong, I thought to myself, they must have the message. They must know this is great because Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be fantastic. They're going to actually make a good game. They can see that making a terrible game, which everyone hated, is a bad idea. But then a couple of months back, they did that thing with the subscription service for Fallout 76.
Oh, Fallout First, yes.
Yeah, where you're paying what was it? Something ridiculous.
£100 a year.
Yeah, £100 a year to get slight gameplay improvements. It should have been there from the beginning. Wait, what? Why? Why?
It's just nobody from Bethesda will ever hear this, but just ditch the online models. They are not working.
No, indeed. And if they looked at their own company's success, they can see where they know what has worked for them in the past. They know what grew their fan base, which was until quite recently a very actually very durable fan base and very defensive of the properties and stuff. But a lot of people have just written off Fallout at this point, and a lot of affection's been transferred over to Outer Worlds, and they need to not do that with Elder Scrolls. This is their chance to win people back. And the good news is they've been working on it for a really long time. It'll definitely be a next generation release. They reckon it'll be 2020 is probably too early. I hear it's supposed to be around 2021. They will have all the time they need to make something fantastic. I think their speculated region, based on the trailer they produced a few years back, is going to be I look like a really High Rock. There we go. Which is the place of the Bretons, which are kind of one of the more boring lots, to be fair. But then Skyrim was in Skyrim, and that is, to me, really boring. But they made it fun. So hey, I'm excited for it, but I'm cautious. Because it's like trusting a leopard with your baby. Now, it's a zoo leopard, It's like one of the more domesticated ones, so it's never eaten anything that's alive before. But do you know for sure that it won't cross its mind that it'll eat your baby? Who knows, right?
Well, that's the problem.
That is the problem. Bethesda is a leopard with a baby. Or two babies, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I can trump the weight that you have for Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh gosh.
Because the first game I'm looking forward to doesn't come out until April 2020 at the earliest. And that's Dragon Age 4.
Ah.
Now, I am a big fan of Dragon Age. I love Dragon Age. Inquisition was not amazing. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely had many flaws. Dragon Age 2 was prime. Don't at me. I know everyone prefers 1, but Dragon Age 2 was better.
What? Fucking what? Did you just say?
Yeah, Dragon Age 2 was better. It's just how it is.
What? What? I will absolutely at you. This is ludicrous.
Yeah.
What? Dan, please also be incredulous at this bullshit. What?
Well,
oh no, don't
see. Here's the
him.
thing.
Don't back him. Don't do it.
There are very few franchises that I don't like, and you picked two of them. I don't like Fallout, and I don't like Dragon Age / Mass Effect. I'm sorry.
I was really hoping that you would back me, Dan.
I can back you. Not everyone I've played has been shit. In my honest.
Oh no.
Okay, well,
Dragon Age 2.
2 is better. All right, we will have an argument about this after the podcast.
I will slit your throat. This is ludicrous. So one is clearly the best, but go on.
Dragon Age 4 is looking to be very, very good. Now, I am a little bit concerned, obviously, because of the way the Inquisition turned out. But in terms, we don't actually know much about the game right now. They have promised that there won't be live service elements like they had with Anthem, which is very nice. I'm very good to hear that. They said they'll dabble in them, but I really hope they don't.
That to the EA, dabbling in live services is going balls deep into
that's kind of.
Buy this special sword for $10 of real American money.
Yeah, that's
the characters will just stop and talk and just point in your wallet and say, "I'll have that, thanks."
So the story is supposed to see the rise of the Dreadwolf, which is basically the name given to. I had to look up the name of the actual god. Fen Harel, which is the elven god of betrayal, the bringer of nightmares. He's basically Dragon Age's version of Loki.
Okay.
So he's known for something called the Great Betrayal, where he basically there was two different clans of gods that kind of ruled over the mortal world, and he deceived both of them and sealed them away in their own realms so they couldn't interfere with the mortal world. And he was kind of defeated and sent away, and now he's apparently coming back. So they released a teaser trailer, and the teaser trailer is the thing that got me a little bit hyped, because firstly, it has the voice of Solas, which for anyone who played Dragon Age Inquisition may remember as the elven mage who was kind of quite a key character for everything that happened. He was very judgmental of everything that you did. So he there was a big part where he kind of backed the Dreadwolf a little bit. He hinted that the Dreadwolf had no choice but to seal the gods away, so that he wasn't betraying them, he was actually saving the mortal world from the gods interfering. So now he's coming back. It's like, well, is Solas gonna side with this Dreadwolf? But the thing that got me the most interested was the fact that the logo they used contained the idol from Dragon Age 2, which was the Red Lyrium idol, which sent the main woman insane and is kind of For anyone who doesn't know, red lyrium is basically like a dwarven substance that corrupts the mind of anyone it's near, and basically sends them insane and makes them bloodthirsty. And a big part of Dragon Age 2 was the fact that mages were being sent insane by red lyrium, and then were basically wreaking havoc on the world with their magic. So, yeah, I'm very interested. The fact that red lyrium's coming back, the fact that Solus is kind of siding with this god who's believed to be a betrayer and stuff. So, very, very interested. But we know next and bollock all about it.
Never trust a teaser trailer. That is what we know.
That is I always kind of keep my I'm like, oh, okay, so this game got released. I never like, oh my god. I am excited to see what they do, but I do definitely have my reservations about it. Because Dragon Age story tends to be either amazing, as is the case of Dragon Age 2, no comment, Craig, or shit like Dragon Age Inquisition. So, yeah, I need to see more. I need to see actual kind of gameplay, and yeah, I actually need to experience it before I'm sold on it. But definitely looking forward to it, even though it's, 2.5 years away? Maybe longer?
That is far. I mean, it's all still up in the air, isn't it? A lot of that stuff at that amount of distance away.
That's it, yeah. You don't know, like, what they're going to do with it, and the main thing that worries me isn't BioWare's ability to make a good game. It's the amount of influence and interaction that EA pose on the production process, and how much, the live service stuff, how much they put into it. It's EA that's going to make or break this game for me. I fully trust BioWare to make a good game. I fully trust EA to ruin it.
They made the Mass Effect Andromeda, the fourth Mass Effect game, and that came to quite a milquetoast reception, from what I recall.
Yeah, I try not to think about that.
Yeah, none of us will ever know how much EA influence and how much was a bad atmosphere and all of that, but BioWare definitely have great form for making amazing games. It's just whether or not they can do it again under present circumstances.
Yeah, for sure.
Dan, any comment?
Well, again, it's not really my franchise. Again, like you're saying, with the EA influence, it's very much let's just hope their influence isn't too much, because they don't have the best track record. But yeah, for fans of the franchise, I hope it is a good game.
It's shaping up to be, in theory. The lore is there, and it's kind of pulling everything together from 2 and Inquisition, and kind of seems to be creating. It is set in the same world as Inquisition. I forget the name of the actual region it was set in, but it's going to be set in the same region. So it's kind of almost a continuation, but I don't know if the Inquisition's going to be there. Like, there's a lot that could be hit or miss.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, I'm officially interested. I do like the Dragon Age game. I suppose I liked 1. Inquisition, I haven't given enough of a go. Whenever I get the impulse to do something with it, I try to import over my choices, and it never actually seems to work.
Yeah, I had to redo my choices. It wouldn't work for me either.
Maybe I'll do that. And in Dragon Age 2, I gave it a couple of hours, but I was just like, what the fuck is this? And it was not for me. And I honestly didn't know it was for anyone. You're my first person, Ben, that it was for.
I'm glad. I'm glad I could do that for you.
Yeah. No, I'm interested. I didn't even know Dragon Age 4 was coming out. So you've officially given me something to look forward to in life.
Yay. That's
Yay.
Good. Now it's Dan. Dan, hit me up with your next one.
Okay, I wasn't sure, because again, like I say, I was trying to avoid the obvious choices, but I'm actually quite looking forward to Marvel's Avengers.
Oh, that's a good one. I should have said that. Fuck.
I'm surprised that I'm looking forward to it, because so many kind of superhero tie-ins are just plain awful, but I got very kind of Spider-Man vibes, and I get a lot of random trailers pop up on things like Instagram I didn't even ask for. So I've kind of been following it subconsciously, I think.
Unintentionally.
Yeah. And I watched a few trailers just to kind of remind myself, and it just looks great fun. It looks polished, it looks very movie-like in places, but not kind of over the top. Each of the characters kind of seem to have their own play style. Especially was quite impressed by the Hulk. Looks great fun to stomp around and destroy everything, hang off the side of crumbling buses.
You can do that in real life, Dan.
But probably only once.
Well, we'd help. We'd make sure you didn't get caught.
I have not actually looked at anything to do with the Marvel Avengers game. I'll be entirely honest. I know that it exists, and I've seen parts of the trailers. I've never fully watched them through. Is it just a retelling of the first and second Avengers movie, or what? Is it like its own story?
It's a brand new story. It's a different story.
Yeah, it's a new story. Square Enix are kind of overseeing it, so that bodes well, I'd say. They're quite,
Yeah, I trust Square Enix.
Yeah, same. And it looks like they've not kind of mocapped, but it looks like they've sort of based the characters on the movie versions of them, as opposed to the comic versions. But I don't think it's kind of a straight retelling or anything like that. I mean, most of the gameplay is one section where you're on, I think it's the Golden Gate Bridge, and everything's just going to pot, and it reminds me of the scene in, I think it was the first film, where they're all in the forest and they're kind of, one of them will throw a person or whatever, and it kind of transitioned into the next character. They all kind of, that kind of,
yeah, like a double takedown sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of, it was like a natural fluid kind of follow on from character to character, and that's how the game looks like it's playing out, or what they've shown so far, anyway.
Similar to the Insomniac Spider-Man game, where you could do that in that, couldn't you? You had like one of the takedowns. There was a section where you had a second character. I swear there was.
No, not.
And it's going crazy.
Not like
You're probably thinking of Batman.
Yeah, it might be Batman actually.
So in those games, you would still only focus on Spider-Man or Batman, whereas in this one, so it looks like Thor jumps in and he knocks a few people flying, and then he kind of jumps into something, and then Iron Man will swoop past, and then you take control of Iron Man. It looks like it's between swapping of the characters rather than you being on screen at the same time.
Right. Okay, I'm with you. Okay, this has actually piqued my interest a little bit.
Yeah, hit the trailers up. It looks good.
I mean, I liked the trailer too, and I was like, ooh, but I quite like all these Marvel films, so that was quite up my street. I think it's important to remember that all of the stuff that we saw was telegraphed and scripted. But, potential's high for some cool stuff, and like all the music's playing, it's like dur, 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 and then everyone's doing their jumps and shooting the baddies, and it's like, I'll take that. Oh, that's great. I love it. It's nice.
Okay. Well, what's your next game, Greg?
Oh, so I had to Google the name of this because it has the most unremarkable name. So it's the next entry in the Halo franchise, Halo Infinite.
Okay, I haven't actually seen anything about that for a little while.
Yeah, they wheezed and farted out a little bit about it a couple of years back, and now they shut the fuck up. I expect it's going to be a launch title for the console generation we expect is coming next year. And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, as with all of my picks, we know almost nothing about it. It's got potential to that they talk a lot about. I mean, they always do this, but they've talked about going back to the roots of Halo and working a bit more on really building great sandbox missions in which you can do all this cool stuff in all these cool set pieces. And it's got Master Chief in it. I don't particularly care about that, but lots of people really like seeing Master Chief. I think it's got potential, and Halo's always been a franchise which has had a lot of potential. It's just of recent times they have not necessarily been meeting that potential. But I'm interested. It could be a palate cleanser for the new Halo games, and it could be a nice positive adventure for those who enjoy to shoot the baddies.
Halo's one of those franchises I was never able to get on with.
Wow. Then I wouldn't recommend starting with the recent games.
I tried very hard, even from like the early Xbox days, like playing the first one. I just couldn't. I don't know why. Sometimes you play a game and it just doesn't click for you. And it was just one of those games that I just tried my hardest, because all of my friends were like, "It's really good, you're gonna love it," and I was just like, "Yeah, no, I don't know why." I appreciate the Halo games.
Sums up what you pulled out perfectly. That's exactly how I am. I just don't click with it.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate them, and I understand why people like them, and I can see that, from a storytelling and gameplay and just kind of visually, they are nice and good games. I just can't get on with them.
I liked Halo up to a point. I think I played most of them, and the next gen, the current gen versions, I just kind of I don't feel like they've particularly innovated enough to hold my interest for what's now 20 years.
God, is it that long?
Do you know what I mean? Well, it must.
It's got to be close, hasn't it?
Yeah, it can't be far off. I thoroughly enjoyed Halo 1, and then Halo 2, it was kind of double weapons, and that was a new thing. And then Halo 3 was much more kind of there was a lot of online play, because it was kind of the generation of the 360, which, I played countless hours online. And then we don't talk about ODST. And then from there, it just kind of...
Whoa!
ODST is awful.
ODST's all right. It's cute. It tried,
But they're just all the same. It's similar with Gears of War. I played one of the most recent ones of those, having not played one since, I think, 2 or 3. And I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with this, but it just feels the same.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
It doesn't feel like there's much different. And I don't know, I think if I'm going to spend 50 quid on a game, I would lean towards something that perhaps piques my interest more, something that's a bit different, rather than something that I kind of already feel like I've played before I've played it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Our wants in a future Halo game are diametrically opposed, Dan. Did you know that?
Well, I mean, I plan on getting probably both of the next gen consoles, if I'm honest. Who am I kidding? And if it's a launch title, then I will definitely give it a go, because it's kind of shiny new hardware, and it might kind of rekindle my love of it. But I don't know. Like I say, I just don't think it's changed enough over the years. And I mean, I know you want to keep it similar. You don't want it to change so much that you lose your initial fan base. But I think it does need to mix things up a little bit,
I mean, to counter you, they definitely have mixed it up a couple of times. Halo Reach was a big departure from Halo 3, and I really liked Halo 3, and I really liked Halo Reach. My ideal Halo Infinite would be a combination of the good points of both of those, with some new stories and stuff.
How did they do it differently? Was it kind of more open world instead of straight missions? Were there side missions? Like, what was different?
So Halo Reach basically completely changed the approach to gameplay, in the pacing, and there being like armor abilities, and you're not like this weird sort of clunky man who jumps really high and sort of defies gravity. And it Reach sort of, and the aesthetic as well, it all Reach feels like this, and the tone as well of that game is such that when you play the campaign of Reach, it's like you're experiencing a war story and you're seeing it from the perspective of a country that we all know was successfully invaded by the Nazis or something. So you're really rooting for these guys and everything's really depressing. And everyone here kind of knows that this isn't going to go well for them, but they're still doing their best. And I really enjoy that. It's hard to explain the gameplay changes without getting too into the in and outs of Halo gameplay. We'll completely switch off both of you. But as much as I really dislike 4 and 5, they definitely did change the approach to gameplay as well. They made it a lot more high pace and a lot of stuff like that, to the point that a lot of old fans were completely alienated. Including me to an extent.
Yeah, I don't know whether to kind of keep my rose-tinted, fluffy, wonderful memories of the first 3 and just pretend in my head it was a trilogy, or to maybe dip my toe into the ones that I missed, or maybe...
Denial is never the answer.
No. Sometimes denial takes you far, Ben. There's a real case for denial in life, I think.
Well, for my second game, I decided to go with one of the games. I didn't do what Dan did. I was like, let's go for one that everyone's looking for. Cyberpunk 2077.
I knew it was going to come up, and I knew it'd be you.
Yeah. Do you know why? Because of 2 big reasons. One, because it's CD Projekt Red.
Right.
And I have a lot of faith in them at the minute, but I'll talk about that in a second. And 2, because it reminds me of Deus Ex, and I really like the Deus Ex games. I didn't play, was it Mankind Divided, the third one that came out on the PS4 and the current gen consoles?
Yeah.
What was that? I forget which one it was. Yeah, no, I played bits of 1 and I played all of 2 of Human Revolution. I loved it. And I love that whole kind of like cyberpunky, cyborg, augmented human environment, that kind of dystopian future setting. And this sold me. I was looking up about the game before we started recording, and there was an article that was posted basically talking about the game and saying some not very nice things about what was going to be done with it. And CD Projekt Red, like the account for Cyberpunk, replied, promising streamlined, honest gaming, and said, and I quote, "We leave the greed to the others." And I was like, yes, that's sold me. I'm fully looking forward to this game now. It had to be mentioned, right?
See, I looked it up today, and all I could see is that apparently they're doing mocap sex scenes, and that's all everyone's talking about.
Yeah, that's what I got today.
That wasn't that enthusiastic. No, that sounds lovely. I'm happy
So
for all of those who will buy it.
my only concern is that The Witcher 3 was a bubble, and the bubble will burst with Cyberpunk. Now, I'm not saying that it will, but there is a huge amount of trust being placed onto CD Projekt Red just purely because of The Witcher 3.
Yeah, but I think you have to be kind of innocent till proven guilty. I mean, their track record's good. The last game they did was phenomenal, so I've got no reason to doubt that the next one won't be as well. I am very much looking forward to it. I've kind of avoided it a little bit because everyone's kind of talking about it. It's very at the forefront when you look at upcoming games. There's lots of people talking about it. There's lots of discussions, lots of videos, and I don't want it kind of ruined before it gets here. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I love The Witcher, so
it's almost like the up and coming game, right? Like you say to people like, "Oh, what's coming out in 2020? What's that?" Cyberpunk. Straight away, like the first game that people think of is Cyberpunk.
In my experience, I'd say it's kind of there's a top 3. And they're all games I chose to avoid talking about, and that was Last of Us 2, Cyberpunk, and Final Fantasy. They seem to be the 3 big ones that if you ask most people, that's what they're looking forward to.
I avoided Last of Us 2 because Last of Us 2 is like the one game that is absolutely being bought regardless of anything for me.
I'm definitely buying Last of Us 2. I should have put that on my list. Damn,
Last of Us 2 is I just I do watch the trailers for those because they're very, very good at just keeping you interested and not ruining too much. So I just can't wait for it. But again, I didn't want to talk about it because everyone else is.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, made by The Witcher 3, set in a Deus Ex style cyberpunk universe with mocap sex scenes. Like, do you actually have to say anything else?
Game of the year.
Game of the year. Forget the fact it's got a nearly £300 collector's edition. Game of the year.
Game of the year. I mean, it must be very collectible.
I mean, to be fair, the collector's edition isn't actually terrible. Like, it's got a very big price tag, but you do get a lot of stuff and a lot of good stuff. I think it was like £255 or 250, like that sort of price mark. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not willing to drop that much on the game. I'll pay the extra tenner for the steelbook, but
I mean, I love a good collector's edition, but I mean, when you look back on them, they're never really worth it, are they? I mean, you're paying for usually a figure.
Yeah, it's pretty.
This is coming from someone who has an entire wall in a dedicated games room that has only got collector's editions, but I fully admit you never really get your money's worth.
Should we talk about the Pokemon statue that you sent me the other day, Dan? You want to talk about statues that aren't worth the money?
Well,
the 2 foot tall.
Are you going to buy it for me?
No, I'm not. It's a 2 foot tall statue of Ash standing on a circle of grass surrounded by this massive Charizard and a Pikachu and basically all of these sort of Pokemon from the Gen 1 series.
Can you attach a photograph in the link for the video?
Yeah, I'll put a picture up and stuff, and I'll send one over in the group chat afterwards so you can see it, Greg.
Oh. If someone wants to buy me it, they're more than welcome. I was being nice. See, it was £400 and it was down to like $330 in Black Friday sale. So I was trying to save you money, Ben.
It's so nice of you, Dan. Whose turn is it? I think it's Dan's turn, isn't it, for the final game?
Yeah, go on, Dan. Kick off with your last one.
Okay. Well, again, toiled between what to talk about, and I tried to avoid talking about games that had nothing about them, but that's not stopped you two. So I'm quite looking forward to Gods and Monsters.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, tell us what the fuck that is. Is that like Don't Starve?
So it's Ubisoft, and it's kind of the one that they're comparing to Breath of the Wild. A great deal about it. I was trying to find a little bit more information, but there's big winged kind of demon god type things. It's open world, almost that kind of cell shady look.
I think I vaguely remember seeing a trailer.
You sent me the original link, so yeah, you do.
Yeah, it was like an E3 thing, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and there isn't a great deal more than that has been released. I was trying to desperately claw at a little bit of gameplay and I haven't managed to find any, but if you do a quick image search and just kind of look at the aesthetics of it, you'll see.
Oh, right. I think I vaguely remember. I think I sent it to you because I was like, oh my god, it's a shell-shaded Zelda-looking game. Dan's going to love that.
Yeah, and then they released Breath of the Wild 2 information and I just forgot about it. But
oh, yeah, I'm looking at some images, yeah. It kind of seems like a mixture of Breath of the Wild and Monster Hunter done by Ubisoft.
That's the vibes I'm getting from it, going around hunting giant monsters.
It's like a giant bird. That bird looks really cool.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I am looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2. I'm a bit nervous, but I think Gods and Monsters hopefully will be a nice stopgap.
See, Breath of the Wild 2 kind of has me interested because I've never played Breath of the Wild, like full disclosure, but it was always on my ridiculously long list of games to play. And when I heard Breath of the Wild 2 was going to be super dark, I was like, okay. Now I'm intrigued.
The Breath of the Wild was one of the very, very few games I've given a 100% to. And I physically couldn't find anything wrong with it. There was nothing that I didn't enjoy doing. The mechanics were amazing. The story was great. Everything about it was just brilliant. But I'm a bit worried that a sequel is like, I don't know what else they can do to not just do the same thing again, or just kind of extend the story. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yeah. It makes you ask the question of why a sequel, why not like a new installment, right?
Well, apparently they were going to do it as DLC, but they had too much they wanted to kind of fit in to DLC, so they just decided to make a second game. But I mean, Zelda isn't something you kind of think of when you think of sequels. It's very much kind of like Final Fantasy. You expect a new mechanic and a whole new kind of environment almost when you get a new Zelda game, and to set it what I assume is going to be in the same world, I just don't know how they're going to pull out something amazing without just repeating themselves. But don't get me wrong, I'm thoroughly excited about it. I'll probably buy a ridiculously overpriced collector's edition.
Yeah, I've sent a picture of Gods and Monsters over in the podcast chat for Greg to kind of.
I just watched the trailer already, mate. It's very Greek looking, which was nice and fun. It was very bright. I thought it was very aesthetically pleasing. It's nice.
Does the fact it's a Ubisoft game worry you, Dan?
Well, they got to get something right eventually, didn't they?
throw shit at a wall and eventually it will stick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very. I've been. You know me by now. I've ranted quite a lot in the past about the fact that we live in a phenomenal kind of generation for games. In such a short amount of time, we've gone from Pong to the games that we're playing now, and I think that people are a bit spoiled for choice, and I think there are some phenomenal games out there that people have kind of not given a fair rap just because they've compared them to other things. And I am under the kind of impression that every game that comes out deserves a shot. I don't tend to look at the publisher really, or the developers behind it, at their track record, because some amazing franchises, the makers behind them have released some really crap games in the past. It happens. So I just think you need to give it a shot.
How very progressive of you.
Well, it all started with Days Gone when that came out, and everyone was giving it like 5s and 6s and comparing it to GTA and Red Dead 2, and it's like, if you take those comparisons away and play it for what it is, it's an amazing piece of software. It's a fantastic game. And it just kind of made me think, Jesus, what do you need to do to please people now?
Oh, it's near impossible.
And that's why when going into my reviews, I try not to be too comparative, and I try and actually see the game for what it is. And that's why I will give Ubisoft as many chances as they need to get something right.
That's fair. Greg? What is your final game?
I'm very sorry to you both. I have to say it, but neither of you, I don't think, will have any idea what this is. Which is Age of Empires 4. Which, based on that silence, I can tell I'm going to have to do a bit of a history lesson.
It's very Civilization-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, so Age of Empires 1 and 2 came out in the late 90s. Age of Empires 2 hit on what is, to me, one of the best formulas for a strategy game. Just to keeping it pretty simple, not too crazy, there's complexity there like a Pokemon game, but you can enjoy it on a simple level too. And Age of Empires 3, we sometimes play that every few years when we forget. We're like, oh, maybe it was better than I thought, and no, it wasn't. But Age of Empires 4 is currently in development, being made by the people that made Company Heroes, which is also, Company Heroes is a pretty good game. I liked 1 and 2. They're World War II games. So they're making Age of Empires 4, which we know very little about. I don't think we even know what era it's going to be in. But I'm interested to see where they take it. Age of Empires 2 at the moment is doing the rounds because they made a HD edition a couple of years ago, like 2012 or something, and it was bought by literally millions of people.
Wow.
And they're releasing DLC for it, and those are all getting bought by loads of people. DLC for a game made like around the time I was born, like, in the mid 90s.
Now I feel suddenly very old, but moving on.
We can talk about our respective ages in a moment.
When you said about it, I actually remember it because I played the Age of Empires in the mid 90s. That's how I know that.
Yeah, it's one of those that's where you go around a friend's house and like at his childminders he had Age of Empires 2 on a PC, and you'd play it and you'd just do the map editor and fuck around. But it's a good game. And they've actually just made a definitive edition of Age of Empires 2. They've not done nothing with 3, which gives you a sense of how the fans felt about that one. They just made a definitive edition of it where they've basically remade the game from the ground up and added all these new teams and stuff. And that's selling really well right now. And that's on my Christmas list. So Age of Empires 4, interested to see where they take it. It could be, they say it's probably going to be on the Xbox One. They say it will be a video game.
That's promising.
Yeah, that's what you want to see, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I'm interested.
How do you think about strategy games on consoles? I always find them a bit clunky.
It's been done right before, not consistently, but it has.
I can hear Reese in my head, my mate Reese, just being like, Halo Wars. He's such a Halo Wars fan.
I really like Halo Wars. I like Halo Wars 1. I like Halo Wars 2. I think they're quite well made for console. Age of Empires 2, my very first experience with it was actually via... Well, not my first experience. My first experience was literally at a friend's childminder's house. But I bought it on the PlayStation 2. Well, that was how I played a lot of it when I was like, I don't know, 10, not even 10, probably like 6 or 7. So it can be done, and it can be done well. And the trouble is that they never reach a mass market, because a lot of people, strategy just doesn't do it for them. I don't know what it is, because I love strategy games, but a lot of people, they're just, no, strategy does not scratch that itch.
Taste, I think.
I played the most recent, I want to say it was the most recent Total War at EGX, not this year, 2018, and that was actually quite a refreshing experience. It was actually very, I enjoyed it. I don't know how well it was received or anything, because I didn't touch the game afterwards, but what I played of it was, I mean, we lost Reese for like 2.5 hours.
Where if you won, you got a T-shirt, and I was so bad and got decimated, I had to get Reese to sit behind me and pretend that I was playing so that I got a T-shirt.
Yeah.
That
wow.
Insight as to how well I fare at strategy games, even with a mouse.
Yeah, Reese he has a mind for strategy games. He loves them. He got me into anyone who plays on PC. There's a really good strategy game called Total Annihilation. It's like Planet Annihilation. I can't remember. Something Titans. Something Annihilation Titans. It's brilliant. You basically each have your own planet, and you just have to wipe out the enemy's commander, and basically their army sort of surrenders. But you can summon these massive Titans to win the game. So my one that I like using is you can build a portal to go to the opponent's planet, and then you can drill a nuke into the middle of their planet and blow the nuke up and basically destroy their planet from the inside out. Or you can summon these like big robots that go and rampage the planet. It's a very good game. I need to look it up now because it's going to bug me what the name is.
It's so good you don't know what it's called.
It's so good.
Well, I would say in your defense, Ben, I don't think a single strategy game has ever had a good, catchy name.
Planetary Annihilation Titans.
They're all like 3 words, and all of those words have a minimum of 3 syllables.
Yeah.
Like Age of Empires, that to someone who doesn't know about Age of Empires, that just sloths off the brain. Like, what does? No, that's just words. Shut the fuck up. Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle Earth. Like, that's like 7 words. Star Wars Empire. I'm looking at my fucking Steam list right now. Star Wars Empire at War, Galactic Battlegrounds. They're all so long.
Yeah.
Rise of Nations. No one wants a nation to rise. That's confusing. Stop it.
That's why they're an acquired taste. It's because casuals can't be asked to pronounce the entire title, so they don't play them.
Yeah. It's just like, have you played that game? I can't remember what it's called. Like, oh
yeah.
There. So my final game I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Death Stranding 2, right?
No, it's actually a game Reese turned me onto. Called Crimson Desert. Now, there's a game that's been kind of doing the rounds, kind of not doing the rounds, called Black Desert, which is an MMO that's quite popular at the minute with people who enjoy MMOs.
I have played Black Desert. It's coming to mobile, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know that's not... Sorry, it just popped into my head, but...
Yeah, no, they're doing like a mobile port of it at some point, I believe. But Crimson Desert basically is another game we don't know a lot about. So I have some reservations about it, but basically it started off as a sequel to Black Desert, but the people making it were kind of like, you know what, this is really good, let's make it its own IP. So that's kind of why it shares the same name. It's very Game of Thronesy looking, very The Witcher 3 looking, set in Scotland, so there's a lot of North versus South dialogue, and it just looks very good. It looks very nice. There's a lot of PvE elements they're focusing on, so I was looking into it. They're talking about raids and dungeons, and it seems very The Witcher meets Dragon Age, which I think is why it piqued my interest a little bit. The only thing that kind of worries me is that apparently they haven't made a decision yet on the scale of the single player. So I was hoping to kind of like, yeah, I can stick my teeth into like a proper single player RPG, and you know, this looks really promising. But then they were like, oh yeah, we don't know how much of the game's going to be single player. Like, you may have to play some of the game in multiplayer. You won't have a choice, which kind of worried me a little bit. And also, we haven't actually seen any gameplay. The trailer that I see was a CGI trailer, like a CGI story trailer.
I'm watching it right now. It's just cameras looking at people talking to each other and stuff, isn't it? And
yeah, like
showing landscapes.
Yeah, at some point there's like a fight and a big dragon swoops past, and it all gives off the impression of being exactly what you want from an RPG. But as we all know, they very rarely tend to end up having those kind of elements to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's what piqued my interest about it, because I was like, oh, it's like Game of Thrones meets Dragon Age, like, this seems brilliant. But then the more I looked into it, I'm going to keep it on my radar, and it's definitely up there in terms of the games that I could potentially be looking forward to, depending on the execution of it. Like, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of multiplayer in RPGs. Like, that's just kind of me. I guess it works in some, but games like Dragon Age and stuff like that, I very much prefer them to be single player. You know, you don't need other people to play with. You just kind of sink your teeth into it on your own, and then you're good to go. So
Yeah, you want to hear the story, you want to be emotionally pulled in. You don't want to just have your mate just be like, oh, look at the tits on her.
exactly.
Like, that's not helpful ever. Come on, friends.
I agree with you on that. I think it's nice to have an optional multiplayer. Like, I quite like the way that, I know it's a different style of game, but like Dark Souls and the other one whose name I forget, Bloodborne, the way you could kind of invite people in to help you with sections if you wanted to, but it was an optional thing. You know, you don't have to play with other people, and if you want to or need the help, I think that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, it definitely. The one thing that I did like about Dragon Age Inquisition actually was that its multiplayer wasn't actually terrible. You could basically team up with friends and do like dungeon raids, and I mean, it was pretty bad, but that style would be much more interesting to me. For instance, like, so they're talking about raids and dungeons. Like, if I could choose to do that and like to go into a lobby and play with friends or randoms, but then there was a separate story that I could play on my own, I would very much be on board with that. And like you said, sort of optional multiplayer. You know, don't force me to team up with people. Like, oh, you have to do this dungeon to finish, like to proceed through the story, but you need to do it with 3 other people or 2 other people. Like, don't impose it on me. Let me choose if I want to do it.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great take from our good friend Ben.
Yeah, Crimson Desert should be
Crimson Desert.
Interesting, maybe, depending how they do it.
Wow, we did it, guys.
We did it.
Guess.
Any honourable mentions before we sign off?
Oh, that's a good idea. I should have come up with one.
I haven't thought of any honourable mentions. You know, I guess
I
Dan kind of mentioned The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Well, I have one that I'm just curious if either of you have heard of. It's a game I've been waiting for years, and they seem to keep dropping it back and back and back. But have any of you seen anything on Biomutant?
Yes, not for a long time. It was actually you who brought Biomutant to my attention.
I had a pre-order that was going to be fulfilled in, I think, 2017, and it's still floating, and we're in 2020 in a few weeks.
God, that's depressing.
Yeah,
maybe cancel your pre-order.
Yeah, well, you know what? So I was just googling it while we've been talking, and there's like 25-minute videos of gameplay, and there's like it looks very polished. It looks like it's on its way to being done. I just don't know when it's coming.
It doesn't say. Release date just is TBA.
Yeah, that's what it said for 2 years.
I guess that studio's not doing brilliantly.
I mean, who's actually making it? It's THQ Nordic.
THQ Nordic, yeah.
Oh, it's published by them, but it's developed by Swedish developer Experiment 101. You all know them.
Oh yeah, we know them from everyone's got that studio game on their shelves for sure. I literally forgot its name immediately.
Yeah.
For those who don't know anything about it's a action RPG where you play as a cat raccoon looking thing, and it's like a mix between guns and swords and kind of platforming, and it just looks really good. It may never happen, so sorry if I get anyone excited about it and they never see it.
Oh dear. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I was gonna say I'm not gonna mention any honourable mentions, because my only honourable mention really is The Last of Us 2. And, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the big honorable, not the big thing hanging over the video game industry is the fact that next year we're expecting new consoles. There'll be a lot of stuff released for like launch titles and stuff, and a lot of them will be pretty okay games, but they might hit some niches. So all of the stuff we're saying right now, 12 months from now, we will look back on this and be like, none of us knew our favourite game of the year was going to be cat with bread, cat, cow, dog. We wouldn't know that right now. You see?
Ooh, I want to put this on the record.
Oh gosh.
Official prediction that the PS5 launch title is going to be Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Ah, Rusty Dinosaurs 2. Duh. Yeah, it might be. They did. It was popular, wasn't it? That first one.
It was hugely popular. It was like the most successful non-AAA launch or something on the PS4. It was hugely popular.
It was very good.
And it was very much loved. And I reckon I actually can't think of a different game to be the PS5 launch game. Like I don't.
What about Cat Girl Without Salad?
No, that's a PC exclusive, man. That's like. I don't want another Uncharted game.
No one does. No one does.
I think that series is done.
Yeah, I think they naturally finished it well, and they should leave it where it is.
Which actually reminds me, Dan, I believe, I have your copy of Lost Legacy sitting on my shelf. I shall bring it with me next time I see you.
You've been saying that for about 2.5 years, but it's cool.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't played Lost Legacy, the Uncharted game, do it. Very, very good.
Has it got puzzles?
It has puzzles and a very, very beautiful setting. Actually, it's set in like a
it's gorgeous.
It's set in India. It's like really brilliant, really, really good.
I'm out.
So I have a question about new consoles and stuff next year. Are you going to hold back on buying things like Cyberpunk that have been confirmed to be coming to new consoles, or are you going to wait and get them on?
So I'm in an R because I would hope that in theory, if I buy Cyberpunk on PS4, I'll be able to play on a PS5. I don't want to have to. You know, like they did kind of. I don't know how the backwards compatibility is going to work. They've said that there will be some, maybe. I think I remember reading, but
I read that there was going to be because apparently you're still going to be able to use PSVR.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. So
makes sense.
I would hope that I could just play the PS4 game on the PS5. I mean. I probably will still get it because I'm not really wanting to wait off. Like it's awkward because where we're trying to get the site back up and going and where we're trying to get reviews going, there's this weird. I don't know if it's like is it an oxymoron or a paradox? I can't remember the actual word for it, but by running a video game site that reviews games, I actually don't have much time to play games in my spare time.
That is a paradox.
It's a paradox.
That is hilarious.
So you have to think like I work 5 days a week. I play the game for a review in my spare time, as well as seeing my girlfriend, seeing my family, seeing my friends. And then once I've played the game, I need to write the review. And if we're getting back into things properly, I need to record the video, edit the video, as well as promoting the website, as well as trying to attain other review codes. Like it's literally like having a second job. So
when there was a point where me and you were kind of 4 or 5 games to review and you just want to sit and play whatever it is that you've got, and you can't because it's like, oh, if I turn the PlayStation or the Switch on, I really should be playing the game I need to review.
Yeah, it's this weird, like, for instance, at the minute, I did the Greedfall review, which ended up being months late. I got another game for Xbox One that I need to review, as well as trying to play Death Stranding, and it's just kind of. So, as much as I'm looking forward to these games, like for instance, Cyberpunk comes out like mid-April, I think it is, or something.
Yeah, you've got like Cyberpunk, Last of Us 2, and Avengers, and something else. They all come out within like 3 weeks of each other.
See, so any of those games, I mean, we probably won't get review codes for most of those. Like maybe Cyberpunk, but definitely not The Last of Us or anything, because PlayStation are super strict with who they give codes out to. So it means that any of those games I don't get a review, I probably won't be playing until like September, maybe.
We buy them ourselves and review them. We've done that before.
Yeah, we could buy them ourselves, but it depends. That's the problem. It's finding the balance between, you know, like, that's kind of why the site went down a little bit, because I got to the point where I was doing so much for the site, I had nothing to do in my spare time, that I was just like, you know what, fuck the site. Like, I'm done for a little bit. I was like, I need some time just to play the games that I want to play for myself.
Yeah, it's the kind of the problem of when gaming, I wouldn't say isn't fun, but it stops becoming like a leisure activity because it's work. It's because you're doing it because you have to, not because you want to.
Yeah, that's kind of, and finding a balance for that is hard. So as much as to get back to the original question, yeah, as much as I say I'll buy them on the PS4 so I don't have to, and then hope I can play them on the PS5, it's all probably mute because I won't buy most of the games. If I do buy them, then yeah, I'll buy them for the PS4. I'm not waiting for the Last of Us 2 to play on the PS5.
Fair point. It was rattling around my head like what I would do, but I'm impatient, so I don't think I could wait like 6-7 months to play the next gen.
Yeah, I'm also, I'm very tempted to I got the PS4 day one, and I'm actually very tempted not to get the PS5 day one.
Just buy them all on Stadia, guys.
Oh yeah, that's going so well, Stadia.
Just buy it all on Stadia.
Yeah, all those people who backed Google Stadia and haven't even got their founders kit yet.
They're loving it. That's their dream. That's what they wanted.
Was it something like 7 megabytes of data per minute to stream in 1080? No, a second, sorry.
You need to be physically connected to the Matrix in order to successfully play Stadia, and even then, you get lag and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they don't let you be a founder. They don't let you have your founder's edition. Yeah. It's a lot to think about, guys.
Are you getting the next gen console, Greg? Are you going to get? Is it Project Sapphire, the Xbox?
The Xbox is Project Scarlet. I probably will. Inevitably, I think I will. It's dependent on how much it will cost when it comes out. If I'll buy it straight up, maybe I will. This will be the first time that one of these consoles comes out, and I am a job man, so maybe I could do that with money that I earn from job. But then, of course, the irony of having job is you have less time. So maybe I won't. I expect I'll get all of every console eventually, because that's like my ambition. And I think I probably will hold back on buying games on a generation if I know that I'm going to be playing them on another generation, or if what I think they are most likely to do is if I buy it digitally on an Xbox One, then it'll work on whatever they call the fucking next Xbox, the Xbox Tuesday. It'll work on that too.
That's interesting.
I like
if that happens, then I'll be all right.
I didn't even think of that. Will your digital games carry over?
Probably.
It would be lunatic behaviour if Xbox didn't do backwards compatible, based on the fact that their entire strategy in this half of the generation has been to collate all of the Xbox 360 and original Xbox titles that they can and make them all exist on this Game Pass, and like have that. Their whole strategy is based around backwards compatibility and having a huge games library. That's like what they're doing. So if they didn't carry that forward, that would be absolutely mad. There'd just be no logic in it. So I think it's a pretty safe assumption that that's exactly what they'll do.
Yeah, you would assume so.
Very, very surprised if the PlayStation 5 or whatever it ends up being called doesn't go back at least one generation. Because I know the PS4 doesn't play PS3 games, but people seem to have just kind of made their peace with that, which surprised me a little bit, but I'd be surprised if it doesn't go the other way, just because a lot of people have spent a lot of money on kind of VR and everything that comes with it, and it would surprise me if you can't carry that over.
Okay, well, anyone who's still listening, do let us know your comments and what you guys are thinking, what you guys are looking forward to. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we shoot off?
The Google Stadia is a bad idea, and to put it very briefly, everything you're hearing about it right now doesn't matter. I think what they're doing is getting themselves ready to come out strong at the same time as all the other generations are coming out next year, and their pitch will be, well, we're way fucking cheaper. And that's when they're hoping to induct a big audience. I think they're just taking their beatings this year in preparation for that.
If they're going to do that, they need to improve their game library. From what I've seen, the game library is far too old.
Yeah, they don't care about right now. They don't care about all the people that have gone in for Founders Editions, all of that. Those people are dirt to them. They don't care. Their strategy is a 12-month one. We're only in month 1.
Okay, so you're imagining it's going to be like, why drop 500 on the PS5 when you can drop 250 on a Stadia and get the same feeling? Because you can take Stadia everywhere, in theory, if it works.
Yeah, but you can play it on your phone if you have a very specific phone.
Which I happen to be looking at my Google Pixel right now.
Wow, so you could play a Lara Croft Definitive Edition on your phone and have a mediocre time.
Yeah, well...
That's the dream.
Wow, that's all kinds of pointless.
Yeah, super fucking pointless. Alright, well, I guess we'll wrap it up there then. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Greg and Dan, for joining me again.
Alright, thank you for hosting, Ben.
Wow, yeah.
And for letting everybody know that I don't like Fallout and I don't like Dragon Age. Let's find out what Dan doesn't like next week.
Yeah. Tune in.
Tune in for everything Dan hates.